are the legendary J Prince and the powerful Prince family running a major hustle behind the scenes of the music industry. The hip-hop world is in an absolute frenzy right now after a legendary rap icon and one of the hottest current artists exposed what really goes on behind the closed doors of Rap-A-Lot Records and Mob Ties. The explosive comments made by none other than Scarface have triggered a massive, emotional reaction from Finesse2Tymes, who is now publicly crying out to be released from his contract. It all started when Finesse2Tymes shared a resurfaced clip of Scarface detailing the brutal gridlock he faced with J Prince Sr. back in 2001. Scarface revealed that the label refused to pay him or let him drop music, forcing him to make a crafty executive move to Def Jam just to survive. By reposting this, Finesse2Tymes highlighted a terrifying blueprint that is still being used on young, vulnerable artists today. Finesse2Tymes went on a viral tirade, exposing that he put his own Mob Ties contract into ChatGPT, and even the AI told him he signed his life away. He is trapped in a devastating 360 deal where J Prince Jr.'s label takes 35%, J Prince Enterprise takes 30%, and Mob Ties LLC takes another 35%, leaving him with practically nothing while the father and son double dip off his plate. Finesse2Tymes publicly begged J Prince to let him go, crying out that he has been locked up for 4 years, dropped only 2 projects, and hasn't made a single dime. This isn't just a standard contract dispute. This is a desperate battle against a powerful street empire where lawyers are too terrified to even cross the Prince family. To fully grasp the magnitude of this industry meltdown, you have to look at the terrifying precision of the contract structure that Finesse2Tymes exposed. This isn't just a standard bad deal where a label takes a high percentage of album sales. This is a highly calculated, inescapable financial web designed to exploit artists who are fresh out of prison and desperate for immediate resources. Finesse2Tymes openly admitted that when he signed his deal with Mob Ties in 2022, he was in a vulnerable position, completely unaware of how deep the clauses went. When he finally ran that paperwork through an artificial intelligence program out of pure frustration, the digital analysis confirmed his worst nightmare. The contract was mathematically engineered to fail him whether he was hot or cold. The mechanics of this particular 360 deal reveal an aggressive double-dipping strategy that strips the performer of almost all financial autonomy. According to the breakdown, Finesse2Tymes receives a mere 35% of his earnings. But the remaining 65% is where the Prince family's multi-layered corporate network takes complete control. 35% goes straight to Mob Ties LLC, a label owned and operated by J Prince Jr. Then, another 30% is funneled directly into J Prince Enterprise, controlled by J Prince Sr., the legendary Houston patriarch who acts as the manager. This means the father and the son are simultaneously eating off the exact same plate, collecting executive fees, label percentages, and management cuts before the artist ever sees a single dollar. On top of this lopsided distribution, the contract dictates that every single production expense, travel cost, marketing fee, and sample clearance must be paid back to the label out of the artist's remaining pocket before any actual profit can be pocketed. It is a financial structure where the artist carries all the physical and creative risk, while the executive branch guarantees itself a massive payday regardless of commercial performance. This specific corporate layout is exactly what triggered Finesse2Tymes to revisit the legendary struggles of Scarface and Rap-A-Lot Records from decades prior. Scarface's resurfaced testimony highlights that this isn't a new phenomenon, but rather a long-standing industry strategy that has been refined over 30 years. Back in 2001, Scarface reached a complete corporate gridlock with J Prince Sr. The label refused to advance any more financial support, and in retaliation, Scarface refused to record any more albums. It was a complete standstill that threatened to destroy his entire career at its absolute peak. To survive and fulfill his financial obligations, Scarface had to execute a highly complex, covert executive maneuver, stepping away from rapping altogether to take a corporate job running Def Jam South. Scarface's public reflection on that gridlock cuts to the core of the institutional problem in urban music. He openly questioned why powerful executives would deliberately hold a black man's career back, pointing out that the industry frequently preys on young performers who possess immense raw talent, but absolutely zero formal business education. The strategy relies entirely on long-ball patience. The label executives possess enough independent wealth and resources to sit back and wait out an artist's frustration, knowing that the artist will eventually run out of money and be forced to submit to the original, predatory terms. By reposting these exact clips, Finesse2Tymes wasn't just sharing a piece of hip-hop history, he was drawing a direct parallel to his current reality, effectively declaring that the exact same playbook is being utilized against him by the next generation of the Prince family. He openly stated that J. Prince Jr. is executing the exact same long-ball strategy that his father used 25 years ago. Finesse2Tymes has been locked into this corporate structure for 4 years, and in that entire time frame, the label has only allowed him to release 2 major projects. The music isn't generating any real traction, the distribution channels are heavily locked down, and the artist is left stranded without any significant financial returns, unable to release music independently, and unable to sever ties with his management. The absolute most chilling aspect of this entire situation is the level of fear and institutional control that surrounds the mob ties and rap-a-lot empires. Finesse2Tymes went on a viral tirade explaining why he cannot simply hire a high-powered entertainment lawyer to take this case to a standard courtroom. The moment he approaches an attorney in the industry and reveals who his contract is with, the legal representation immediately backs down or refuses to take the case. J. Prince Sr. has spent 3 decades building an immense network of social, financial, and street resources across the entire country. The legal community understands that entering a legal battle against this family means stepping into a crossfire that most corporate lawyers are simply too terrified to navigate. There is a deep, widespread suspicion that any lawyer hired within these traditional industry circles will either fail to do their job properly out of fear, or actively feed information back to the label, leaving the artist completely isolated and trapped within the system. This has forced Finesse2Tymes to take the incredibly dangerous risk of taking his grievances entirely public, effectively bypass standard industry channels to beg for his freedom via social media live streams. He has openly challenged the hierarchy, stating that while he still maintains respect and love for the family, he absolutely refuses to be misused any longer. He has addressed J. Prince Jr. directly, demanding to be let out of the paperwork because the partnership has yielded zero financial success for his career. The public reaction to this exposure has completely divided the hip-hop community. One side of the internet is praising the utilization of modern technology like AI to expose predatory fine print, urging young artists to view this as a crucial cautionary tale about the absolute necessity of independent legal education before signing major agreements. The opposing side, however, fears that by making a public line in the sand against an incredibly powerful and respected street dynasty, Finesse2Tymes is putting himself in an incredibly volatile position where the backlash could completely derail his career, or worse. For now, Mob Ties has maintained a calculated silence, leaving the entire industry in a tense suspense as everyone watches to see whether this public cry for independence will result in a clean release or a brutal corporate retaliation. The financial reality behind this contract breakdown highlights a massive systemic issue that goes far beyond a single artist's career. When you look at the numbers Finesse2Tymes exposed, it becomes completely clear why he feels financially choked. By operating under a setup where J. Prince Jr.'s Mob Ties label takes 35%, J. Prince Sr.'s enterprise takes 30%, and the remaining entity secures the last 35%, the artist is effectively left with zero room to breathe. This multi-layered corporate layout means that every time a dollar is generated from streaming, merchandise, or touring, it gets split up among multiple entities controlled by the exact same family before it ever reaches the artist's bank account. When a young performer is signed to a management deal controlled by the father, while simultaneously being locked into a record label owned by the son, it creates an absolute monopoly over their creative output and their income. What makes this situation even more devastating for an artist in Finesse2Tymes' position is the way standard music industry expenses are recouped. In a brutal 360 deal of this nature, the label doesn't just take a percentage of the gross revenue, they deduct every single marketing budget, travel expense, studio fee, and video production cost directly from the artist's minority share. This means that even if an artist is incredibly hot, pulling in millions of views and selling out venues, their actual payout can be reduced to zero once the corporate accounts finish deducting their upfront expenses. Finesse2Tymes explicitly stated that over a 4-year period, he was only permitted to drop 2 major projects, leaving his catalogue completely stagnant while his buzz began to fade. This forced stagnation is exactly what brings an artist to a breaking point, causing them to realize that the contract they signed out of desperation is designed to keep them dependent on the executives forever. This exact corporate trap is what connects Finesse2Tymes' modern struggle directly to Scarface's historic stand against Rap-A-Lot Records. When Scarface reached his breaking point in 2001, he realized that standard negotiations were completely useless because the power dynamics were entirely one-sided. The label had the financial resources to play long ball, meaning they could easily afford to let an artist sit on the shelf indefinitely without releasing music until the artist eventually ran out of money and submitted to their terms. Scarface's genius was realizing that if he couldn't make money as a rapper due to the gridlock, he had to completely pivot his strategy and use his corporate intelligence to secure a massive executive position at Def Jam South. He was making an astronomical amount of money working behind the scenes as an executive, more than he was making while actively rapping under his previous agreement. By sharing Scarface's story, Finesse2Tymes is attempting to show the world that the blueprint hasn't changed in over 2 decades. The music industry continues to prey on young talent who lack formal business knowledge, using complex legal jargon to lock them into long-term structures with automatic extensions that are nearly impossible to exit once distribution happens. Scarface's public frustration centered on the fact that the industry frequently fails to educate its own creators, choosing instead to put a black artist's life and career completely on hold the moment they try to stand up for fair business practices. He openly championed the philosophy of each one teach one, pointing out that while the executives treat it strictly as a cold corporate game, the young artists entering these agreements are completely blind to the long-term financial consequences of the paperwork they are signing. The ultimate fallout from this public exposure is the sudden, intense wave of online speculation regarding how modern technology is changing the balance of power. The revelation that an artist had to plug their official record deal into ChatGPT just to understand how badly they were being exploited has sparked a massive debate across hip-hop culture. The digital analysis confirmed what industry insiders have known for years. These contracts are written entirely in the label's favor, ensuring they retain ownership of the master recordings forever while maintaining final say over almost every creative and financial decision. Yet, the AI also pointed out a fascinating legal loophole that has caught the attention of legal experts following the story. Because the contract is so completely lopsided and weighted entirely in the label's favor, a high-powered defense team might actually have a legitimate case to argue that the agreement is completely unconscionable and therefore legally invalid in a court of law. This has turned the comment sections and social media platforms into a massive battleground of ideas. On one side, industry commentators are urging Finesse2Tymes to use this exposure to completely break free from his management and look for a fresh start with an independent distribution model. On the other side, longtime followers of the culture are deeply concerned, knowing that publicly challenging a street dynasty as powerful and deeply rooted as the Prince family carries immense professional and personal risk that goes far beyond a standard courtroom dispute. The structural standoff between Finesse2Tymes and Mob Ties has escalated past a simple contract dispute, turning into a high-stakes standoff that threatens to completely alter how independent artists navigate major industry alliances. When an artist publicly declares that they have been with a label for 4 years, released only 2 projects, and haven't generated a single sustainable dime, it exposes a massive operational flaw in the modern rap economy. The leverage in the music business has traditionally belonged entirely to the gatekeepers, who control the distribution pipelines and financial advances. But by taking his grievances entirely to social media and bypassing the standard, lockdown legal channels, Finesse2Tymes is attempting to flip the power dynamic by mobilizing public opinion against one of the most feared and respected dynasties in hip-hop history. This public plea for freedom highlights a deeper psychological breaking point that occurs when an artist realizes their career is being systematically choked out. Finesse2Tymes openly expressed his frustration, addressing J. Prince Jr. directly by stating that while he still maintains deep love and respect for the Mob Ties street family, he absolutely refuses to allow his career to be misused or kept on a shelf any longer. He made it clear that he has already generated all the money he can possibly make under this current restricted setup, and that it is officially time for a brand new look and an entirely fresh distribution channel. The desperation in his voice during these viral clips reflects the exact same claustrophobia that Scarface described decades earlier during his historical gridlock with Rap-A-Lot Records. It is the realization that no matter how hard you work, or how much raw talent you possess, you are trapped inside a corporate machine that values total control over mutual financial growth. The immediate ripple effect of this situation has forced the entire hip-hop community to re-examine the immense influence and resources possessed by J. Prince Sr. and his family. For over 30 years, the Houston patriarch has built an unbreakable network of social, financial, and street power that commands absolute authority across the United States entertainment landscape. This immense shadow is precisely why Finesse2Tymes confessed that finding adequate legal representation is a nearly impossible task. The moment an independent entertainment lawyer realizes they have to go up against the Prince Empire, they immediately freeze up or intentionally mismanage the case out of a deep fear of professional or personal retaliation. This absolute legal standstill is what makes the situation so incredibly volatile. When standard courtrooms and traditional legal protections fail an artist due to intimidation, the only remaining option is to detonate the entire relationship in the court of public opinion. The utilization of artificial intelligence to analyze these lopsided contracts has introduced a revolutionary paradigm shift that has record executives completely panicked. For decades, labels relied on complex, dense legal jargon and exhausting 300-page contracts to intentionally confuse young, uneducated artists who were desperate to escape poverty or legal trouble. By plugging that exact paperwork into a digital program and receiving an immediate, blunt translation that the label owns everything, controls the masters forever, and absorbs all income through an oppressive 360 web, the mystique of the predatory record deal is officially dead. The internet has turned this revelation into a massive educational movement, with fans and aspiring musicians using Finesse2Tymes' public struggle as a definitive case study on why artists must completely avoid traditional long-term lock-ins with automatic extensions. As the online pressure reaches an absolute fever pitch, the strategic silence maintained by Mob Ties and the Prince family speaks volumes. They are playing the exact same long-ball patience game that Scarface warned about from his 2001 corporate battle. The executives understand that they possess the independent capital to sit back, remain completely silent, and let the news cycle spin, knowing that an artist who isn't dropping music will eventually run out of resources and financial options. But unlike the industry landscape of 20 years ago, the modern digital era allows an artist to maintain a direct, unfiltered connection with millions of consumers, making it incredibly difficult for a label to quietly bury a creator on a shelf without facing constant, daily public backlash in their comment sections. The final trajectory of this explosive battle will ultimately determine whether Finesse2Tymes can successfully force an exit from his contract, or if he will be completely consumed by the corporate crossfire. If he manages to secure a clean legal release from Mob Ties, it will establish a historic precedent, proving that modern artists can use digital tools and public transparency to shatter even the most intimidating, lopsided industry agreements. However, if the label decides to completely double down on their automatic extensions and freeze his catalog indefinitely, it will serve as a chilling reminder of just how punishing the music industry can be when you try to cross the powerful entities that pull the strings behind the scenes. For now, the facts remain tightly guarded, the speculation is growing louder with every passing hour, and the hip-hop world remains completely captivated by a high-stakes war for creative independence that could change the business of rap forever.